I'm on playback.
You're on playback.
Your mom's on playback, Jordan. Your mom's a nice lady. Have I met your mom? No, I've never met your mom. I met your dad. He's a nice guy.
Never talked to her. She looks good naked, though. What is happening, everybody? Welcome to MLB Live Before Lock. Yesterday, we had the first main slate of the NFL season. There's still Monday Night Football left, so one final game for week one. And of course, we're going to have that covered on the YouTube channel. After Eric and I break down the baseball slate, we're going to have Matt Kajeski and Lofty. They're going to be here to break down NFL final game of week one. We still have our $1 kickoff promo. So if you guys want to try, I know week one's almost over, but it's $1. If you guys have been wanting to try out our tools and haven't done it yet, you do get one slate left. And for $1, I mean, there is some value still there. I assume a lot of you guys have taken advantage of it, but if you haven't, final call to take advantage of our $1 kickoff promo. It will be expiring tonight. Other than that, guys, hope you all had a great weekend. As you're watching us here, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Here with Eric and Jordan, the Slurp King. Eric, what's up, man?
Slurpaderp. Yeah, it was a good first slate. Made a little money for the people, and I barely made any money betting, but I was green, and that's kind of what matters for week one NFL. You get some randomness. Had a lot of underdog spreads that I was on. Denver plus 6.5, Arizona plus 6.5, and from a DFS perspective, tools had me on a lot of Josh Allen. I figured Alec Pierce was probably due for a couple of deep bombs, and that ended up working out well for the people. Only thing that sucked was what sucked for everybody, and that was like trying to figure out anything at tight end. I mean, both McBride and Kincaid, if one of them puts up double digits, I bank a bunch of shit. And you just couldn't spend up for them because you were better off spending $3,000 for the position. And I saw your tweet about it, but what did you think about week one? That was pretty wild.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible for me. It wasn't great either. I just lost to the rake. So it wasn't like I got obliterated, but wasn't like massively profitable or anything either. And yeah, the tight end position just sucked. Of all of the players that had more than 3% ownership on the slate, Kyle Pitts was the only one who scored double-digit fantasy points. So, I saw a lot of people, bemoaning, I played this guy, tight end, and he sucked. He ruined my lineup. I mean, not really, because every single tight end sucked. So it's not like there's a scenario where, well, at least realistically, it's not like you're looking at your line and be like, oh, I should have played Juwan Johnson at 0.8% ownership or whatever the number was. The tight end position, like Kyle Pitts, was serviceable, but they all kind of sucked. It was interesting.
Who's the super handsome fella next to Eric today? That is Gregory Ehrenberg, and behind the virtual glass, the Slurpaderp King. These are good things, but Team Eric, I'm ready to talk some baseball because I got to go on Kyle's show, and it was just like, I'm doing NFL indie stuff here now, and MLB, it hasn't fallen by the wayside, but my God, it felt like I hadn't talked MLB forever, even though it had been like Friday. I really, really like this slate, but DraftKings really screwed this up by not having those early games.
Boy, let me tell you something. We got EMAC, and EMAC is so old. I've known EMAC for years now. He doesn't remember who I am. That's a little sad. It's like, who is that on the screen?
Yeah, I guess it's the amnesia kicking in. Yeah, it is what it is.
And then somebody asked a best ball question in chat. It was, where was it? Somebody asked us a best ball question. I responded to it in chat. But here it was. Peyton Bunn said, can a QB move from the flex to the bench in best ball? So for best ball, flex, the quarterbacks don't go in the flex spot. Quarterbacks can only go in the quarterback spot. Correct. The flex spot is either a wide receiver, running back, or a tight end.
Correct. But I'm saying they'll move it based on the points that they put up, no matter what. You don't have to do anything. It's automated.
No. He's saying, can they move to the flex from the bench spot?
Oh, yeah. No, they can't.
It sounds like Peyton Bunn may have drafted teams with too many quarterbacks on them.
Seems like you maybe went a little overboard. I mean, weekly winners, I was drafting one quarterback, a lot of those, just to try to just really ramp up upside. But you needed Lamar, likely, and Saquon, and probably Hill could fit with those too. I mean, it was a wild first week of weekly winners if you go through some of those. But yeah, other than that, yeah, you cannot do that. So that sucks.
Shout out to Chris Williams, who gifted us out 5 YouTube memberships. Chris said he's not playing the baseball slate today, but just wanted to come support us. Chris, we definitely do appreciate that. And yeah, I'm sure Chris will be watching out for the NFL show that's going to be on after us. And then we got Clintwood 83 wanted to know who we're liking at pitcher today for cash and single entry. So let's get into that, Eric. And pulling up today's slate. And one other thing that I agree, I think is weird. I saw Josh tweeted about it, and then I saw it brought up in the YouTube chat as well. Why is the slate starting at 7 and including the 10 p.m. games instead, as opposed to just starting at 6:40, including all the games? Who knows? But that's kind of the slate we have to play with. And it's FanDuel and DraftKings both doing it the same way.
So dumb.
Yeah, absolutely no clue why that is the case, but that is the slate that we have to play with. And the pitching options today, just dog shit of all dog shit.
Yep.
You got the two most expensive pitchers on the slate are Carlos Rodon and David Festa. And you've got Rodon is 38% owned. Festa's 44% owned. You got two other pitchers in the 8K range. Brady Singer, 13% owned. Brian Bayo, he's 11% owned. Let's start with the chalk options, Eric. Do you have a preference between Rodon and Festa?
Yeah, Festa. The Angels are, over the last 30 days, 63 WRC plus against right-handed pitching. Festa throws this changeup and it's moving. Has it been ideal? Has it been perfect? No, but it's a very small slate. And amongst these two, playing even a handful of lineups, I don't see how you don't like Festa more. You have Rodon going up against Kansas City, and Kansas City is, for all intents and purposes, going to shove his shit in. I'm pretty positive that Kansas City is like the way that I want to be playing this slate. I'm going to have tons of them against Carlos Rodon, and if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, such is life. But I have a pretty strong preference for the guy in David Festa, who 5%, 4% difference between top 2 percentage of the two. There's basically negligible difference in terms of ownership, and I am so much here more for the David Festa side. He has a much better matchup than Carlos Rodon does.
So I got kind of interesting lineups here as I'm looking through the Sims. I am overweight to both Rodon and Festa. I've got a little bit more exposure to Rodon, but the two teams I'm most overweight to as stacks also happen to be the Kansas City Royals and the Los Angeles Angels. So I like everything about these spots. I think that the pitching just sucks today. So I do like that there is some strikeout upside in both Festa as well as with Carlos Rodon. So enough for me to want to play him. But these pitchers are also so popular, and the offenses they're going up against are low enough owned that I'm going to be stacking against them for leverage as well. Now, where there is a different conversation, we have to be like what we want to do with a single entry lineup. We'll talk about stacks there in a little bit. For cash games, though, to the question that we got from Clintwood83, just roll out Rodon and Festa in cash games.
Yeah, that's what you're doing.
There's not a single other pitcher that's projected for over 20% ownership other than Joey Cantillo, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. And I definitely wouldn't trust him in a cash game.
No.
But let's talk about the other two options. Brady Singer, Brian Bayo. Do you like either of them as pivots off of Rodon or Festa?
Not really. I have a little bit of Brian Bayo. I have a little bit of Brady Singer, but pretty nominal amounts. Brady Singer has a lefty problem. He has a flat out lefty problem. And Juan Soto, Austin Wells, Jazz Chisholm, Jason Dominguez, and Anthony Rizzo. That's Alex Verdugo even. I mean, that's 6 lefties. And then your righties are Gleyber Torres, Aaron Judge, I guess Oswaldo Cabrera. So yeah, 7 lefties, 2 righties. I mean, it's a terrible spot for Brady Singer in Yankee Stadium, wind slightly blowing out. Only nice thing is dew point down, humidity down. We have an opportunity to maybe see the ball stay somewhat in play for him, but God, that's a lot of lefties rolling out here today. And Jason Dominguez, yeah, you have all of 1 ball that he's put in play in the majors so far this season, but for all intents and purposes, the guy is a 120 WRC plus in AAA. It's not the greatest AAA ballpark that he's in either here for the Yankees, and he is constantly been hyped up as he should be. So I'm looking at the Yankees as another team that, I mean, that one's not going under the radar by any means. It's the New York Yankees. I think they're the 3rd highest in our top stack percentage, even though their ownership share is a little bit down. Find it pretty appealing to get to the bats more so than Brady Singer or Brian Bayo.
All right. And by the way, I'm on the same page as you. There are contrarian pitchers I like, but it's neither of these two. There's other spots that I like to be contrarian with, and one of them is going to come up here in a second. Ooh. 7K range, no pitchers are more than 20% owned. All these pitchers are owned somewhat similarly, 17% ownership to Tyler. I feel like we've talked about Tyler McGill in like 3 of the last 4 slates or something like that. But Tyler McGill, he's 17% owned. Reed Detmers, he's 19% owned. Walker Buehler is 12% owned. Ryan Yarbrough, the one unowned pitcher in this price range at 1%, which totally makes sense because he's not expected to go all that deep into the game. So none of the pitchers in this price range are popular. We'll talk about Ryan Yarbrough to start. Are you also going to be writing him off?
Yeah, it's hard because we saw him pitch, what, 26 pitches last time out? He did get up to 60 against the Angels, but remember, it is the Angels, and you have an opportunity against them to potentially pitch deeper into that one. But yeah, they've been limiting him under 60 pitches in every single outing the entire season. I'll just take the rest of the board rather than try to make Ryan Yarbrough a thing.
All right. So let's talk about contrarian pitchers then. None of these guys are north of 20% owned in the 7K range. Do you have more than 20% of any of these pitchers, Eric?
Reed Detmers.
All right. That's my guy as well. That's my contrarian pitcher.
Yeah. 38% Reed Detmers. My Minnesota Twins have not been hitting the ball well, and that's not even necessarily what it is. I don't know what the flying F the Angels are doing when you have Reed Detmers sitting in AAA Salt Lake City for 3 months and just wasting away in Margaritaville, and all of a sudden, or I guess they don't really drink in Utah, so that's a bad example. But Reed Detmers, 10 strikeouts going up against the Dodgers. He looked unfreaking hittable in that game until gave up a couple of hits, like 3 hits later on. He is solid. He is very, very solid as like a strikeout option. Has it been perfect for him? No. Has he had some walk issues over the course of the season? Yes. Don't know what it is. I wasn't sure if it was like a service reason or what it was, but like in AAA, he was striking out everybody. He had a sub 1.3 ERA there for a majority of the AAA season. I mean, he was an absolute wagon there. He's the most talented pitcher on this staff. I don't think it's remotely close. And he gets to go up against a Minnesota Twins lineup that is just so watered down when you look at like the absence of a number of the bats. I like it against most righties, but you know, it's not great going Santana, Jeffers, Miranda, but after that, Royce Lewis, 23% K rate, Matt Wallner, lefty. Matt Wallner batting 5th is shocking to me. Left on left, 36% strikeout rate. Willie Castro, 24%, a little bit higher there against lefties. I mean, Reed Detmers just stands out like a sore thumb for me on this slate.
Yeah, there's a lot of weirdness with Reed Detmers. And as a contrarian option, I really like him today. Smallish slate, but you're able to get him sub 20% owned. Really only rostering him for the strikeout upside. 27% K rate in the big leagues. In the minor leagues, like you mentioned, generated a lot of strikeouts, 29.4% K rate. The decision to send him down was weird for a couple of reasons. First off, you had mentioned, Eric, he's arguably the best young pitcher that they have in the organization. And he got off to a slow start based on his actual ERA numbers this year, but the underlying numbers were much better. So overall for the year, he's got a 5.87 ERA, but a 3.67 expected ERA. He's been done in by a 330 BABIP. That's super high, a 61.6% strand rate. That's super low. So for everything you look at his numbers, at least in the big leagues, it's just bad luck. But what ends up happening is, for whatever reason, the Angels look at his numbers and just like, he needs to go down to the minor leagues and get some extra work in to get himself on the right track. In the minor leagues, he did generate a lot of strikeouts, but he actually sucked as a pitcher. He had a 5.54 ERA and a 5.4 FIP. So that's kind of a red flag to me. For DFS purposes, where we're only really caring about the upside in GPPs, I'm going to play him for the strikeout upside. I don't want to paint a picture, though, like he's been lights out this year or anything like that. He's been unlucky at the big leagues, send him down to the minor leagues where he was just flat out bad. But he's got the strikeout upside, so I'm going to be playing him for the K upside. But I also think there's reason to want to be stacking against him just because of some of those struggles that he's had. All of that said, though, if I'm picking one side to be playing, either the Minnesota Twins or Reed Detmers, the answer to me is Reed Detmers.
Reed Detmers pitches in Salt Lake City, baseball on the moon, PCL, West Coast League. It's a disaster. His underlying metrics aren't going to look that good from that perspective. But as I said before, his last 3 starts, 1.29 ERA, 0.86 whip, looked really good from a strikeout. I mean, he was striking out like 10 guys a night at AAA over the course of the last month that he was there. And then he goes out, does it against the Dodgers, which was a little bit surprising. I had a tiny bit on that slate. It was like last Tuesday or something. Tuesday, did we talk? Yeah, it would have been Tuesday for sure. Reed Detmers was somebody that I was like, you can take some shots on him, but I don't know. It's probably not going to go well. And everybody stacked up the Dodgers. He mowed down everybody, 10 strikeouts. So it just carried over. And now it's an easier matchup from a runs perspective, taking on the Twins, albeit now on a road ballpark. And it's just such a weird thing with the Angels, where I just don't see how you send that guy down for 3 months when you could have been developing up here at the big league level. And it can't be a service deal, because I'm looking at his options. Oh, he's on a 1-year, $770K contract. So basically, Yeah, he's just sitting there, not doing anything. He will be gone next year now, and some team like Houston or Minnesota, well, not Minnesota, the Yankees, somebody will figure out something to do with Reed Detmers. He's really good.
Yeah, I mean, like, once again, I don't want to say that he's really good. I think he's potential to be really good. I think he is somebody who's like a high variance pitcher that generates a lot of strikeouts. Matchup against the Minnesota Twins, potentially strikeout prone team there. So playing Reed Detmers in DFS, he's the pitcher I'm the most overweight to. But if it goes wrong, I could certainly
I
see
mean,
that
am I
end up
wrong
being
about
the
this?
case.
3.62 xFIP against righties this season. I mean, he's been legitimately good in the platoon. And Minnesota, I mean, they're putting Wallner in there because, he has a 4.84 xFIP versus lefties. He's actually had far bigger problems with lefties, but he strikes them out at nearly a 12K per 9 clip and has that 338 BABIP against righties. He has a 3.62 xFIP with a 338 BABIP. I think he's actually good.
Could be. Could be. Only time
Be
will
good
tell.
today. That's what matters.
Emac has told us here that he has a no-hitter as a rookie. Put some respect on that name. I will say this about Reed Detmers. He has one of the worst no-hitters I've ever seen in my entire life. The actual worst was the old who was it that had the Edwin Jackson. Remember, Edwin Jackson had no hitter where he walked like 6 or 7 hitters and threw like 160 pitches.
Yeah. However,
Reed Detmers had a no hitter where he had like 2 strikeouts and just pitched to a lot of hard contact.
I have left a no hitter in the 6th inning before without realizing it was a no hitter. This is a true story. Jared Weaver. I was in Anaheim. I was going to Disneyland after the game with my girlfriend at the time, and the Twins were in town. They were playing the Angels. I can't remember what year it was. It was early 2010, so I could Google it and look it up. But we were going to Disneyland after the game, and the Twins were getting no hit. It was like 9. God damn it, Jordan Klein.
The only reason that Eric doesn't like that video is because his behind gets slapped as opposed to a finger getting put in it. So just something to consider on the next iteration.
Pulling up Jared Weaver wins no hitter. Okay, it was in 2012. So I was in Anaheim. I went to the Angels game with the girlfriend at the time, and it was like 9-0 or 8-0. It was something ridiculous. And so we left the game. I didn't know Jared Weaver had a no hitter going, and then we get to Disneyland and go in the front door, and everybody was just like cheering or something. Like there was this guy in an Angels hat because it's in Anaheim or whatever. And he's like, Jared Weaver no hitter, and I'm like, what? We left the game early. So I went to 6 innings of a no-hitter before in my life, but I've never seen a full front-to-back no-hitter. My dad saw Hideo Nomo in Colorado pitch a no-hitter one time, which is fun too.
I was supposed to go to the David Wells perfect game when I was a kid. And what happened is, so one of my best friends, Jordan, growing up, he was also my neighbor, is one of his dad's friends worked in sales for the Yankees front office, and he would give him tickets sometimes. So we had plans to go to the game. One of the catches, though, was that if we got there and the tickets were all sold out, there was nothing he could do for us. And that day also happened to be Beanie Baby Day. And if you remember that Beanie Babies were like insanely popular. So it was David Wells Beanie Baby Day. And David Wells had I think it was David. It was either, I'm pretty sure it was David Wells. Maybe it was a different player, Beanie Baby Day. So it's Beanie Baby Day at Yankee Stadium. So because it was Beanie Baby Day, the tickets sold out immediately. Beanie Babies, they were crypto before crypto for people who haven't heard of Beanie Babies before. So because of that, we had to go to it was like, I don't think it was a Dave & Buster's, but it was something comparable to a Dave & Buster's from the 90s. And we ended up going there and playing games. And then my friend's dad told us that David Wells was pitching a perfect game. So we listened to the last 3 innings of the game from the car radio. But yeah, I have a similar experience.
Yeah, that's so wild. Yeah, that's fun to have those kind of stories for it. I mean, I love baseball. My dad loves baseball. That was kind of our thing growing up, was like driving up to Twins games. It was like a 4-hour drive and coming back. But yeah, never did I imagine going to a game in Anaheim. I think it was like the 2nd or 3rd time I ever went to Angel Stadium. And sure enough, left a no-hitter, had absolutely no idea that it was a no-hitter through 6 innings because we were just drinking and eating and not paying that much attention. Just, wanted her to enjoy watching baseball and kicking it. But yeah, was very, very upset leaving Disneyland that day. Not the happiest place on earth for Eric, that's for sure.
By the way, I looked up and found that I found the David Wells Beanie Baby.
He was super hungover that day too. I remember him talking about it, which is pretty fun. David Wells
It's
was like
not as
super hungover.
impressive as the pitcher through the perfect game on LSD, Doc Ellis.
That's amazing.
I think David Wells was not sober hungover for almost all of his starts. Same with, I heard a story about David Cohn once from somebody who knew him where it was something similar. So yeah, that Yankees team back in the day, they like to party after winning baseball games. But back to today's slate, anything in the 7K range outside of Reed Detmers that you're liking?
No, but that was a great way to fill time, was just going down memory lane there. Walker Buehler, I'm going to take some shots on at 7K. I think he's broken right now. And Chicago. And yeah, Chicago, Cleveland, those are going to be two teams that I'm going to have a lot of here too. The Cubbies, I think, are probably pretty underrepresented at the moment. It is 98 degrees here right now in LA at Dodger Stadium. It is 108 in the Valley where I am, and it is not an enjoyable experience in life right now. I am dying. If you can't tell and you see me, I'm sweating profusely, even back here with an air conditioner going 65. The ball should be flying out of Dodger Stadium in a pretty pronounced way. So giddy up, partner. Walker Buehler, I'm going to take some shots on it purely because, we're starting to see stuff to some extent, but like I still look through the actual stuff on Baseball Savant and I don't see any differences. I think he's still pretty broken, and the Cubs have speed. They have power. They've been one of the hottest teams in baseball forever now. I'm not a big hot streaks guy. I don't think you've ever heard me really talk about that, but it's actually flaming hot out here. So Walker Buehler, even though I'm going to take some shots, I'm going to have way more Cubs on the other side.
You ready to talk about Joey Cantillo?
Not really, but here we go.
All right. So Joey Cantillo, can he have a good game today? We've got him pulling not a crazy amount of ownership considering his price and the size of the slate, but he's somebody who is clearly not a household name. People here aren't going to know who Joey Cantillo, but I had to look up data on Joey Cantillo. Here's the positive, though. He is $6,200 and he's pitching against the White Sox. Those two factors are getting him his ownership. It doesn't matter who the pitcher is. Any pitcher at this point of the season that's cheap and is going up against the White Sox is just guaranteed to be chalky. And that's what we have with Joey Cantillo. He is the only pitcher pulling more than 20% ownership who's priced below David Festa. So we've got this guy who's, once again, somewhat popular. He's more popular than the guys priced around him. Not insane ownership, though, at 27%. What are you going to do with this mostly unknown pitcher against the White Sox? And do you have any kind of input on anything about his skill set or how good you think he is?
So I think he's okay. Obviously, we've seen him in AAA rack up a lot more strikeouts. He's only 24. We're still kind of accumulating sample size at the big league level. And the strikeouts haven't shown up through 5 games, limited opportunity, 18 and 2/3. But you go to AAA, 38 and a third innings, nearly 12 Ks per 9, 4.51 xFIP, 3.29 ERA. You look at that alone, and I think it was pretty justified that we were going to run into this kind of ownership on him. I actually thought it was going to be a little bit higher than where it's at. But with that being said, I am expecting him to get steamed up a little bit here. And I think I have to roster some White Sox at this kind of ownership. So I'm definitely playing the ownership game with going towards the White Sox side of the bats here. But there is no doubt that Cantillo, if you told me that he went out and absolutely nuked this slate, wouldn't shock me at all. I get a little bit worried that, he hasn't pitched in 2 weeks at the big league level, comes back from AAA Columbus. And yeah, the big leagues have not been kind to him, but he's a lefty with obviously some stuff that's showing up at that level. I think eventually it'll probably show up here.
Not only have the big leagues not been kind to him, the minor leagues haven't been particularly kind to him either, because Joey Cantillo down in the minor leagues.
4.51 and 5.
Yeah, he's got the 3.29 ERA, does generate strikeouts, but 4.3 FIP, 4.51 xFIP, that's down at the AAA level this year. And then if you look at his numbers last year in AAA, 4.64 ERA, 5.29 FIP. So he's not somebody who's been a lights out pitcher in the minor leagues. He's not considered a real prospect, but he's got a great matchup against the White Sox and he generates strikeouts. He had a 29.8% carry in the minor leagues this year. Last year, despite the struggles giving up runs, 26% strikeout rate. Can he get this guy through 4 or 5 innings and only give up 1 or 2 runs? If he does, he's probably going to have like 6, 7 strikeouts or something like that. So I don't know what to make of him. I am not going to let this make or break my night, though. I am just going to go even with the field. That's what I did with him.
Yep.
I didn't, the Sims got me like a little bit overweight to Joey Cantillo. And I was like, I don't feel all that comfortable with it. I just capped his ownership to be what his ownership projection is. And I'll be like, cool, my night will be made or broken elsewhere. I don't want these just goofballs who we have no data on that aren't any good to be what I'm riding my night on. So I'll just be even with the field, and whatever happens to make or break my slate, it'll be made elsewhere.
We did the exact same thing. I just capped him at 30%. Yeah. So we were thinking the exact same way on him. Could he have a huge night? Yes, he could. It is the White Sox. He has strikeout stuff. Could he get lit up? Yes, he could. I think the truth is probably somewhere in the middle, and we will, but it'll kind of depend on how Festa and Rodon do. Reed Detmers, for me, I have a lot more of him than I have of Carlos Rodon at their current ownerships, but no doubt that Joey Cantillo, you want to have in some lineups if you're playing 20 max, 150 max, but in one lineup, I don't think you would crack it for me.
The other part of this too, that I think the main reason he shows up in lineups in the Sims, the other cheap options are terrible today.
Yes.
I can't really make a case for any of the other punt options. And then they're not even all that necessary considering how cheap the pitching is. So just to recap what my pitching exposures are, I'm a little bit overweight to Rodon and Festa. I'm pretty heavily overweight to Reed Detmers, even with the field on Joey Cantillo. And then I just don't really have exposure elsewhere. I got guys who show up in like 5-6% of lineups for nothing I'd go out and advocate for. Do you see it differently than me? Are there any of these other cheap pitchers who you're like, no, you need to have that guy in your lineups?
No, but to like play on the Joey Cantillo thing, Cade Povich did just have 10 strikeouts at home against the Chicago White Sox in 7 1/3 innings and put up 37.5 fantasy points. Now, that is about as big of an outlier as you could ever run into. He is not good. He's only had 4 road starts this entire season. I think Baltimore's been pretty smart with how they've utilized him. They've been pitching him at home and trying to line up his starts to be at home where you have a cavern out to left field, rather than him somewhere where, like, yes, you have a green monster, but that's also a backstop for, it's a short distance out to left field. And then it's pretty easy to hit it out there with righty power if you put loft on it. So Cade Povich, an extreme fly ball pitcher. I have more exposure definitely to the Boston side of things. Can't possibly make any kind of a recommendation to roster a share of Kyle Hendricks. Like I just can't do it. Nick Nastrini is terrible. The combo of him and Jared Schuster going for the White Sox, it's the worst bullpen in baseball. Cleveland's the most popular team on the slate, much more on the Cleveland side. Like there's nothing else to talk about down here.
All right. If you don't have any other thoughts on pitching, we can move over to FanDuel and talk about FanDuel pitchers, but any other thoughts, anything we didn't cover on the DK pitchers?
No.
All right. Let's talk about FanDuel then, where it's kind of nice that while all the pitchers on the slate stuck, you only got to roster one of them over on the FanDuel side of things. And the guy the people are choosing to roster on FanDuel, it's David Festa. Festa pulling 26% ownership at $8,500 over on FanDuel. Rodon is 13% owned. Reed Detmers is 13% owned. Joey Cantillo, we just talked about, is 12% owned. Eric, I know you said you prefer Festa to Rodon over on DraftKings, but on FanDuel, where he's double the ownership of Rodon, does that drive you to prefer Rodon as a GPP option?
Yeah, it does. Reed Detmers, too, pulling more ownership, considering he's $2,000 less than Carlos Rodon. I think it'd be kind of a coin flip. I just built out 150 there. The one pitcher that's a little surprising that I'm overweight to is Brian Bayo over there. Obviously, he's lengthened out. There is strikeout upside. Fenway. It's an advantageous hitter's park, but plays a little bit deeper towards left field than these Baltimore Orioles. I think they put up like 3 runs in 4 days or something ridiculous. They have been not ideal, but they still, over a longer sample size. I mean, Gunnar Henderson, they're throwing Cedric Mullins up there as well to try to loft a couple out of there. I mean, his fly ball portfolio is ridiculous, even though he's just basically popping them up. Adley Rutschman's had a tough year by his standards from this side of the plate, from the left side of the plate. Extremely low BABIP from the left side of the plate. So there's some interesting stuff there. They have Kobe Mayo, Levon Soto in the back half of this lineup. Basically, I'm just explaining what I think is happening with the data. And 14% Brian Bayo. That's the guy that I'm the most overweight to relative to their ownership. But if I'm playing one lineup, I think it would have to be Carlos Rodon, as much as I don't like it over on FanDuel.
And I saw, did you plug in Cap and Akella's lineup into the single lineup sim, Jordan?
What a guy.
Yeah, let's check that out, because I saw you threw that into chat, so we can look at that when it comes through.
Quit playing video games with your friends.
FanDuel, let's see. If I was building one lineup for a GPP, just entering one, which direction would I want to go in? I'm going to say not David Festa. For cash games, I think you just play Festa over on FanDuel at the $8,500 price tag. 26% ownership. That's a little more than I'd really want to be playing him over on FanDuel. I'm going to write off all the cheap guys. I'll stick with our guy Reed Detmers at $7,700. It's in between him and Rodon as my favorite GPP options. Honestly, it's pretty close for me in between the two of them on FanDuel. I'll lead towards Reed Detmers at the $2,000 salary saving. So Reed Detmers, we do him with a 10.6% chance to be the top scoring pitcher on the slate, only slightly behind Festa and Rodon, but I like those price savings you're getting on him. So I will go with Reed Detmers. Any punt options that stand out to you on FanDuel? I also don't really like Joey Cantillo for FanDuel purposes.
No, 80-ish pitches, and yeah, the strikeout upside, you're hoping he spikes it, and could he get to 6? Sure, but cheapest I would want to go is Reed Detmers. I wouldn't want to play Bueller, wouldn't want to play Povich, wouldn't want to play Cantillo, wouldn't want to play anybody down here. It'd be Detmers, Brian Bayo. Again, that's the surprising guy to me. Brady Singer doesn't completely suck, so you could go there and hope the lefties don't completely set him on fire. But David Festa for cash games, Carlos Rodon for tournaments.
All right. Let's talk about some offenses now. Actually, in a sec, we'll see what Capanakella's lineup ends up looking like. And then we could go and talk about some of our favorite stacks. But Jordan's almost done with this, so I figure we'll give it the second here to be put in as Jordan tries to navigate which players at which position. This is like Jordan trying to put a puzzle together, which is kind of entertaining to watch.
It's like the sloth from Zootopia.
I've got a shirt of the sloth. That actually that is like Jordan's spirit animal. Slow moving.
What did the dog say to the other dog? I'll just do this.
Jordan's slowly figuring it out. I don't know how this is the case, but when we started this like 2 minutes ago, there was one player left to put in the lineup, and now there's two players left 2 minutes later.
Oh, it's so good. So good. Sorry, Jordan. I love you. But you also put Tinkerbell of me up, so F you. Yeah, good. Do it.
Yeah, I know.
You don't have a choice.
You're trying your hardest with the capabilities you were born with, but it's all right. We love you all the same. Almost done here. Just 2 spots left. Somehow 5 minutes from now, there's going to be 5 spots left after that. We don't spend enough time just watching Jordan click on stuff.
Honestly, it's like seeing a monkey play with silverware. It's like he doesn't know what it's used for, but it's entertaining anyway.
There we go, Jordan. Get him a raise. Extra snack time.
Extra snack.
All right, all that for a negative 16.8% sim ROI there
for work.
Capinakella. So let's see, where did he go wrong? He is making
1, 2, 3, 4. It's not a 5-man.
So we didn't make a 5-man stack, and then it's like a couple of Dodgers. It's just a little bit too eclectic.
Yeah, there's a lot going on here. It's like you need to add another Met. So I would remove Kirk. I would probably just put in is it today? It's Alvarez batting 9th.
It says in chat that Jordan entered the wrong lineup.
Oh. Good job, Jordan.
Well,
it's all right. You're doing your best. Good job, buddy. Good job.
You give it the old college try. And by college try, I mean just blackout drunk and not making any sense. Let's see. Where's Capinakella's lineup? So
Oscar
his
Martin.
Lineup is...
There's no other Martin that I'm seeing.
So he's got JD Martinez, Brandon Nimmo. I'm trying to find it in chat. He says
JD Martinez.
It's a 5-man Met stack, 2 Dodgers, and then Kirk is a one-off. So he has, I do empathize with Jordan on this because he did write Martin in the lineup.
He did. It's Marte. I'm guessing what he means, but
Makes
Sterling
sense.
Marte.
Yeah, probably on Marte.
So Marte. M as in Matt, A as in asshole, R
As in describing Jordan's IQ. All right, here we go. Lineup is simulating. What do we have here? There we go. Much better. 17.4% sim ROI.
Hey.
So after we figured that out, and listen, I was not expecting that to take like 5 minutes or whatever it did, but we've got this situation.
Let's go to this super quick segment.
I think it's a decent looking lineup.
Let's go to this super quick segment that Jordan will totally be ready for, and then we have no issues and whatsoever. Oh God, that was fantastic.
Which also, by the that was actually not Jordan's fault at all. I was looking back at Captain Akella, and yeah, he did also follow up in chat and said, "My bad." But listen, we got to make fun of Jordan a little bit for it, so all is good there. All is well and good. Good lineup, by the way, Captain Akella. You are good to be playing that today. Let's talk about our favorite stacks here, Eric. Starting with single entry. If you're building one lineup for a single entry field, which smaller fields, especially this time of the year, even smaller now that football's starting and there's the overlap today, the 121 single dollar entry. I think what is it, like 180 entries today on DraftKings. If you're playing one lineup in single entry, which team are you looking to stack? I think
it's the Kansas City Royals. It's not even remotely close. 208 expected ISO against righties, 161 expected ISO against lefties. So you don't have to leave off anybody that you'd be particularly worried about from the left side here. Is it particularly good hitters? I mean, they went and picked up Robbie Grossman, Yuli Gurriel, but they're functional against lefties. And then you have Pham up top, who I bet to hit a homer, plus 425, come join the party. Bobby Witt, Sal Perez, breaking my home run model, specifically Sal Perez with the launch. And Maikel Garcia, Michael Massey, the one lefty there that is out there hanging out, and then Garrett Hampson. He's got speed, he's cheap, whatever. But I don't see how the Royals are not the answer here every single time at their ownership.
Because for me, it's the Los Angeles Angels, but for a lot of the same reasons as you might be wanting to stack the Royals. I think you're in between those two teams as far as being a team that we have is under-owned in our top stacks. Well, teams I get overweight to in the Sims, then also getting a lot of leverage against a popular starting pitcher. I ultimately just have a little bit more exposure to the Angels than what I have to the Royals. So I'm going to lean towards the Angels, but it's for all the same reasons. I think those are the two teams that present me the best leverage options for single entry. But I'm going to ask you now, Eric, for large field GPPs, because I'm with you. I'm also overweight to the Royals. I think it's a team that makes sense. Are you finding yourself getting to Angels lineups for large field tournaments?
Yeah, I definitely am. David Festa, there's still some concerning stuff about David Festa, despite the fact that we talked about his strikeout upside and his changeup and all the lovely, fanciful things that we can bring up about him as the chalk option. And the Angels have the sub 70 WRC plus over the last month against righties. He's got a 206 expected, or sorry, where did it go? It just disappeared on my sheet. Here we go. Yeah, 213 ISO against left-handed bats, 198 ISO against right-handed bats. The expected numbers are lower, but boy, he gives up some fly ball contact. And target field, not exactly terrible for hitting, although the wind's blowing straight across. It's a little humid, but I think the Angels make a ton of sense as well. I mean, the Angels and the Royals, you play this slate out 100 times. I mean, those are your two mega chalk pitchers. It would behoove you to play at least one of them in single entry, and then in large field being overweight to both.
If one of these guys was an actual ace, or if this was the Carlos Rodon of a couple of years ago, I'd probably play this slate and just be yeah, I'm just getting 80, 90% of Rodon or whatever it is. But I view both Rodon and Festa as being really high variance pitchers with upside. They can both generate strikeouts. David Festa did come into the year as one of the top pitching prospects in baseball. He did struggle in AAA, though. Not to the point where his numbers were Joey Cantillo numbers or anything like that, but a 4.03 ERA, a 4 FIP. He wasn't lighting the world on fire. The strikeout upside was there for sure, but you mentioned the home run issues that he's had. That also extends to the minor leagues. Well, he has the 15.4% home run to fly ball rate in the big leagues this year. It was 24.3% in the minor leagues. So if you are going to see David Festa struggle, it is likely to come via the home runs. That's the reason why he has the 4.75 ERA at the big league level. So we got the question from Mr. Coolcam in chat, favorite stacks on FanDuel for a tournament. I like the Angels for leverage on DraftKings. I also like the Angels as my favorite FanDuel stack for leverage as well, because Festa is the only pitcher on FanDuel that's pulling more than 15% ownership. He's double owned any other pitcher on the entire slate. So I like the Angels on DraftKings, like them on FanDuel as well. If you're playing one lineup on FanDuel, to Mr. Cool Cam's question, Eric, would you be stacking the Angels? Do you still go to the Royals, or are you looking in a different direction?
I would be looking at the Cubs too. I repeat, it is a bazillion degrees out here. I'd be looking at the Dodgers. It is a bazillion degrees. You have an opportunity to get what could potentially be a crazy good game environment. And I would probably just look at stacking up maybe that entire game environment. It is drastically better to be hitting in LA, wind blowing across and out towards the pole, than it is to be hitting in any other ballpark in any other situation here today. I think that that is a firm fact. It's not like we have aces and Kyle Hendricks and Walker Buehler out there. So I am well overweight to this spot here as well. I mean, really the only team that I'm undercutting on the entire slate amongst, well, I guess it's the Yankees, Mets, and Baltimore. I'm pretty under on those three, but Cleveland, I'm all right with some of the chalk. But the Dodgers against Hendricks, they're pulling a lot of ownership, but I'm going to get to, double-digit amounts of them. Maybe not the 14% ownership share when it's all said and done, but yeah, I have no problem with it.
I am way underweight to the Dodgers as a 5-man stack. I've got a bunch of these guys as one-offs, like Shohei Ohtani. He's in a quarter of my lineups. But as far as stacks go, I am not anywhere near the field playing them in, 16% of lineups. If I'm rostering one of the chalk teams, mostly due to the price point on them, I prefer Cleveland to the Dodgers. Also better ballpark.
Agreed. And well, the worst bullpen in all of baseball, whereas the Cubs have been functional for the last month or so.
I mean, the White Sox probably have the worst of everything in baseball. Worst starting pitchers, worst relief pitchers, worst outfielders, worst infielders. Like,
I would say outfield is by far their strong point. Like, by far. Roberts, Benintendi, Jolks. Like, I would say that they're still... From an outfield, they're functional, but yeah, everything else on that team is dysfunctional, no doubt about it.
Look at Benintendi's numbers for the year, though.
I know. So I went through some of the stuff with Jolks and Benintendi and Vaughn, and Corey Lee is now hitting freaking 5th now for this baseball team. It's absolutely insane, but still a 670 OPS. He's not like complete trash.
I mean, he's below replacement level with an 88 WRC plus. Corey Jolks is also below replacement level with a 75 WRC plus. And then, while clearly the best hitter on the team overall is Luis Robert, by his standards, he's also having a down year. He's also just been a replacement level player this year with an 85 WRC plus. It's been bad.
Not ideal.
Not good. I don't know. All right. Who do you think leads the team in WRC plus this year?
Has to be Andrew Vaughn. Has to.
I'm pulling it up.
There's no way it's not Andrew Vaughn.
All right. I've got all of the hitters pulled up here. Oh my God. I forgot Yohan Moncada exists. I mean, he's only played 11 games, so forever. Doesn't really count for anything. They don't have, Eric, they don't have a single regular player
above 100.
The answer is Andrew Vaughn at a 95 WRC plus.
Yeah, it's just insane. That's absolutely asinine. Everybody jam Joey Cantillo is what that's what we just talked ourselves
95 into. WRC plus for Andrew Vaughn. Guess who is second?
It's not going to be Robert based on the way that you said that. I mean, are they still on the team?
Yes.
Okay. Gavin Sheets.
You are correct.
Okay.
Gavin Sheets at a 92 WRC plus.
But he's a platoon guy too, so it's kind of cheating.
Plus.
Yeah.
Robert at an 85 WRC plus.
Wow. Wow.
5th is Nicky Lopez with a 75 WRC plus.
Dude, Nicky Lopez being 5th is hilarious because I remember doing shows with Terry back in the day where I was basically like, go ahead and play the White Sox, but if you play a single share of Nicky Lopez, you are dead to me. Like, you cannot play Nicky Lopez. And now he's leading off for them against righties, which is just hilarious.
This team is no good. Let me see. Who are they actually playing every day that has like the lowest numbers?
Got to be Miguel Vargas based on what we've seen since the trade. I'm looking at my expected batting averages. He has a 187 expected batting average. That's lowest in today's lineup. Lowest on the team.
Sosa has a 55 WRC plus.
Like, what are we even doing?
And then Corey Lee, who also has been playing a ton for them, has a 63 WRC plus.
It's just absolutely asinine.
I've never seen a team that's rolling out
9 players below replacement.
Nicky Lopez leads the team in wins above replacement at 0.8.
He's a good fielder. That's why.
This team is terrible.
Yes, they are.
Yes, I'm not breaking any news here, but it's funny to attach some of the actual data to the players here. So outside of the offenses that we've already discussed, are there any other ones that are important to you?
Let me go through my ownership of it here. I'm way under on the Twins. I'm way under on the Yankees. I'm way under on the Mets. I'm way under on Baltimore. I'm over on Boston. Boston's pretty important to me. I've got double digits of Boston. I have double digits of Dodgers. I have double digits of Cleveland, and I have double digits of Kansas City. Those are the 4 that I have double digits of. Kansas City is my highest owned. I'm almost 4x the field on them, 21% ownership. So yeah, those are the 4 teams that are the most important to me.
Yeah, a lot of the same for myself. Although I prefer the Angels to the Royals. I do not have double digit exposure to the Los Angeles Dodgers. Guardians, that's the chalk team that I have a decent amount of, but that's at 16.5% exposure to the Guardians. A 5-man stack. I mean, it's not all that much different from the field. And then we've got the Red Sox, who are kind of like a middling stack, at least in terms of projected ownership, 8.8%, right in the middle of what we have projected for the day. And I am about double the field on the Boston Red Sox. So it looks like you and I are on the same page there in terms of a team in the mid-range of ownership that we're getting overweight to the field. So like Boston, a good amount there against Cade Povich. Any other final thoughts on offense, Eric?
Yeah, again, I'm kind of a big fan of having a lineup or two, just stacking up the Cubs and Dodgers. I can't. I've lived in LA, like in the Southwest now for 14 years. I can't remember it ever being this hot. I really can't. It has been this hot in like Bakersfield or like other places that I've been in the summer. Arizona, when I go out and spend time out there in the summer, I've been out there for some 4th of July's with my folks and stuff like that. But this is the most ridiculous weather we've ever had, bar none. And the wind's blowing out, and you've got power and speed teams on both sides of this one with not good righties. I think you should definitely look at stacking up everything in that game in a lineup or two. Just play Cubs and Dodgers together. I'm doing that in a couple of lineups. And if it is playing as small as Dodger Stadium can play, I mean, it's obviously one of the best hitters parks in baseball here recently anyway. I think you would be doing things absolutely wrong. Oh my God, Christian McCaffrey inactive. Holy shit.
Oh my God. This came out.
Let's go. Deebo Samuel overs.
You know, it's first of this came out of absolutely nowhere. Totally changes the entire showdown slate, which you guys are going to want to be checking out live before lock tonight with Laffy and Gajeski. I have also people who play yearly leagues got absolutely fucked by this because this came out of nowhere.
I mean, there were signs. I mean, here's what sucks is I jammed on my video last night. I jammed under 115.5 receiving plus rushing yards. I thought that they would just limit him. I mean, this is absolutely asinine. Actually, I need to just go to the waiver wire and pick up Jordan Mason now, because if this is like another week or two thing, I mean, we are talking about the best value piece or the best number 1 waiver wire pickup in football right now. Where's my phone?
Is he not on teams already?
No, in year-long, people's like 10 and 12 team year-long teams? Absolutely not. No, he's not on anybody's.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I'm not in any yearly leagues this year, so I didn't know what people had drafted or anything. But yeah, I mean, he's going to be the RB1 for them now.
Dude, that is absolutely... I'm trying to find my phone. I need my phone so bad. I'm in too many leagues this year. There's my phone. Son of a bitch. Wow. This is absolutely insane.
Well, there we have it. It's funny. It's not like I know Christian McCaffrey, obviously big name value there. it's not like this is he's still a running back who's out. So it's not like it's crazy impactful to the spread, especially because the number was 4.5. It matters. I mean, I'm sure we'll probably see move to like 5.5 or something like that. But it's hard for a running back to have any sort of real significant value to the spread. I'll guess a point. There's 4.5.
Oh, no. This is going to get to 5.5. This is going to get to 5.5 for sure. Yeah, 6. But it's at 4. So, I mean, it could get to 6 by first pitch or by kickoff. It could be absolutely insane.
Oh, I mean, so no, never mind. The number was 4.5. I think it moves to 3.5. We're both idiots. We're doing it in inverse.
Oh yeah, we're absolutely fucking the dumbest people ever. 2.5, 3. Yeah, it's going to be at 3 immediately. I doubt it gets inside of a key number considering San Francisco's at home, but God, do I feel good having a 4.5 New York Jets ticket right now.
Yeah, that's like, I don't think it moves across a key number. I think it goes from 4.5 to 3.5. 1 point.
Yep, correct.
All right.
Wow.
Let's do our home run picks. Here. Catch our breath. Christian McCaffrey not playing today. Guys will have it covered on Live Before Lock later. And our data will be updated on the site soon as well. Promo code kickoff, just $1. I know you're only going to be getting one slate out of it for week 1 of the season, but it's $1. If you guys want to try out our Sims tools for football, promo code kickoff, link down below in the YouTube description box. And you can build lineups for tonight's slate. And should be a good amount of value with Christian McCaffrey. Lots of lineups leaving salary on the table. But for baseball purposes, Eric, who are you picking to go yard today? Who's the dong of the night?
I just got Jordan Mason in one of my leagues. That felt good. Cody Bellinger is going to go yard for the Chicago Cubs. He is the one-off in my single entry lineup. Welcome back to Dodger Stadium, taking on a right-handed pitcher in Mr. Walker Buehler, who is giving up a 463 expected slugging, that is. It makes all the sense in all the land going back into his former ballpark. Want to shove it in their face to some extent. Not that that's going to be the reason that I'm getting there, but the reason I am 16.3 degree average launch angle off the bat for against Mr. Walker Buehler. And well, this is going to be optimal for a lefty here. 227 ISO against lefties for Walker Buehler this season. Cody Bellinger, it just makes all the sense in all the land.
I am going to go with Logan O. Hop. I really want to take a hitter from the Angels. Clearly, this is not who's like most likely to homer on the slate, or else I wouldn't be taking somebody from the Angels, but it's my favorite contrarian team on the slate. We talked before that when David Festa struggles, it typically means that he's giving up home runs. So I'm going to be going with Logan O. Hop. He is somebody who I have north of 20% of in my GPP lineups, and he's only projected for 4% ownership. Let's see what we have from chat. And we've got a Michael Surek going with Salvador Perez. Malukar is going with Aaron Judge and Freddie Freeman. Taco Bell has got Corey Julks. And mostly people out here talking about the Christian McCaffrey news. So, Jordan, take us home. Who's it going to be? Who's the home run pick?
Seiya Suzuki and Ohtani.
Right, Jordan, tonight. Jordan was caught a little off guard there. I saw the panic when he realized that we were going to him for his home run pick. But Seiya Suzuki, Jordan is going to be going with a Chicago Cubs hitter there. So, guys, thank you very much for watching. If you have not done it yet, do us a favor, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, check out NFL Live Before Lock, because the guys are going to be talking the impact of Christian McCaffrey and who you want to be playing in your showdown lineups. Good luck tonight.
Holy shit.